This is a journey. Greetings and salutations, people of the YouTube Nation. You are now listening to the premier voice for entertainment and information. Yeah! So, believe it or not, originally I went to school for a BA in BS. Good to see it's paying off. Oh man, I'll be here all week, everybody. I do birthdays, quinceañeras, graduations. Nah, but for real though, I went to school for graphic design. And upon graduation, unfortunately, companies wanted 2 years of experience. How the hell am I supposed to get 2 years experience if I just graduated, right? So it was truly BS. That is beside the point. Today I'm gonna use all of my design knowledge and put it to good use for once. I'm here to talk to you today about club crests. Your club crest is a symbol for your club. It represents a history that is inherited through generations. It stands for the unity that is seen on the terraces and at the pubs. Of course, it also represents the identities of the city and or club, so it's kind of a big deal. Club crests have changed for many reasons in the past. Sometimes the club wanted to honor a club legend such as a manager or president that did a lot for the club. Other times, it was due to a change in moniker such as the one going from the Dolphins to the Seagulls, as was the case for Brighton and Hove. In recent years, with the globalization of the sport, club crests have spread far beyond just the local community from where they originated. That's how you get supporters from practically all corners of the world. You can see the crest from one of the most famous clubs in different regions. You can see lads from Lagos rocking a shirt from a local woman club. Or you can observe the same crest at restaurants from Madrid to Manila. And in order to take advantage of this brand to further its commercial revenue, many clubs have decided to modernize their crest. Some for the better and some for the worse. Although I'm not gonna name any names. Cuff, Juventus, Cuff.
What is that? That freaking thing.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Conversely, some clubs have held tradition through it all, while others, like Ajax, have rejected modernity and have actually reverted back to their classic crests. Of course, the ideal club crest would honor and respect its legacy while maintaining aesthetically pleasing design. It doesn't matter if you have a design that is aesthetically pleasing, though, if it doesn't maintain the legacy of the history of the club. Conversely, it also can't lean heavily on telling a whole novel, right? You have to make sure that there is a balance in the design so it doesn't overwhelm the audience. I'm also going to borrow a concept from character design in that the most memorable crests should also have distinct shapes. That means that people should be able to distinguish the design from the silhouette alone. In this list, you won't see many of the modern football club crests that are a variation of a circle with insert club name here FC. That is just because I think it's not particularly interesting to look at. Lastly, I'm also going to give extra points for how many followers a club has. While I understand that club followers are not an indication of the quality of the club crest, it is, however, an indication of the quality of the club's football, or at least success. It does not really matter if you have a great club crest if not that many people know about you. As a result, Old Athletic FC will not feature on this list even though its crest is glorious. Without further ado, who played for a few clubs which sadly did not feature on this list, here are the top 7 club crests in the world, according to my opinion. Number 7, Boca Juniors. Club Atlético Boca Juniors was founded on the working-class port neighborhood of La Boca in 1905. Initially, it was said that they were a kid that used thin black and white stripes, similar to Juventus. A few months later, they were playing a match against Nottingham de Almagro. I don't even think that club exists anymore, but I digress. The legend goes that the kids of the two teams were nearly identical, so they bet that the loser would have to change his club colors. Boca lost and had to change colors. They decided to change to the color of the first boat that came into the harbor. It turned out to be a Swedish boat. Lucky for them, it was not the Swedish Navy. Otherwise, they would have had to Scandinavian.
Did I stutter?
So blue and yellow became their colors. Luckily for them, Argentina wasn't engaging in trade with Afghanistan at the time, otherwise, it would have been kind of awkward. In the 1970s, then club president Alberto J. Armando suggested that the club crest should be altered to have some stars per league title, and so it was. Fast forward to 1996, almost 3 decades later, and the club kept winning, so the crest had to be updated. Now, I read Leonard Nilsson's book titled World Football Club Crests in preparation for the video. Nevertheless, I think something was lost in translation. Boca only had 35 league titles, yet it has almost twice that amount of stars. It makes more sense if you count one star per title won, regardless if it's a National League, Copa Libertadores, or Intercontinental Cup. Either way, that's the logic behind the stars. Number 6. Corinthians Paulista. The badge is gorgeous. You could definitely pick it up if I were to cover it up with only a black silhouette. Not many football clubs feature a red anchor in the middle along with two oars, forming an X pattern. In the middle, you have the Sao Paulo state flag, which is surrounded by a nautical rope. The legend goes that in the early 1900s, football was seen as a rich people's sport in Brazil, which of course contrasts its origins in England as a firmly working class pastime. This changed in 1910 when railroad workers founded the first football club open to the public. The workers were inspired by a club called Corinthian FC, which was founded in London in 1882. Corinthian FC would then do some touring around the world, and that's when they came upon Brazil. Ironically enough, even though Corinthians started out as a football club first and foremost, Corinthians. Ironically enough, even though Corinthians started out as a football club first and foremost, it did eventually. Ironically enough, even though Corinthians started out as a football club first and foremost, it did eventually venture out into water-based sports such as rowing. As a bit of historical context, rowing is a sport of the wealthy, similar to how golf clubs exist today. It's also the exact inverse path that other clubs such as Flamengo took, started out as a rowing club first and then opening up football sections. Number 5. Now, much to my chagrin, Real Madrid is officially the club with the most official titles in the world. It was founded in 1902 as Madrid Football Club. Some 18 years after it was founded, Real Madrid had won its fifth Copa del Rey as well as various regional titles. King Alfonso XIII granted the royal title to Madrid FC, and thus they became Real Madrid. At that time, they added the crown to the club crest, which was fairly standard, white circle with their initials. After the deposition of King Alfonso XIII and the dissolution of the monarchy in 1931, the crown and the title disappeared. In its place, a purple stripe representing Castile was added. 10 years later, in 1941, shortly after the start of the Franco regime, the title of Real was restored. The crown was added again to the crest, and the purple stripe was kept. In 2002, the club badge that we see today was added. The stripe had changed from purple to blue. I'm still not entirely sure why. Some people say it was for marketing reasons and trademark purposes, which doesn't really make more sense. But either way, this is what it looks like now. The club itself is very famous, and it apparently has the largest following on social media. Nevertheless, I'm going to deduct some points due to the fact that its silhouette is not that particularly interesting. It follows a similar design pattern from other clubs such as Espanyol and Racing Club, with a circle with its initial/name and a royal crown on top. Hell, if I'm being completely honest, I think Celta Vigo's design is a lot more interesting as far as all the clubs with the royal title in Spain go. Of course, Real Madrid's success and popularity put it over the top. Number 4. Manchester United. This club crest features the nickname of the club, the Red Devils, prominently flanked by two footballs either side. You can also see a ship on top, of the Red Devil, which is, of course, a nod to the city's history of trade and commerce. The moniker Red Devil itself was coined by their legendary manager, Sir Matt Busby. It carries a great symbolism because of the Munich air tragedy that took place in 1958. A plane crashed in the Munich airport, killing several players and staff members. Among the survivors were Bobby Charlton and Sir Matt Busby himself. Busby was able to rebuild the club after the Munich air disaster and would win several more titles. They won an FA Cup in 1963. They won a First Division title in the 64-65 season as well as the 66-67 season. The club would subsequently win the European Cup in 1968, a full decade after the Munich air disaster. The club crest is known worldwide due to the popularity of the Premier League as well as the success of Manchester United themselves during the 90s and aughts. The club crest is known worldwide due to the popularity of the Premier League as well as its success during the 90s and aughts, in which they practically monopolized the Premier League. They were also one of the pioneers of commercialization of the sport at a global scale, for better or worse. Alright, number 3. Liverpool FC. Liverpool FC was founded in 1892. Ever since then, it features the city's symbol, the liverbird. Ever since then, it features the city's symbol, the liverbird, prominently on its crest. The bird is holding a branch in its beak, which is a nod to the city's sports and working class background. For the 1992-93 season, the badge was updated. The Shankly gates were added at the top of the crest. They were, of course, named after the legendary manager, Bill Shankly. The club's legendary anthem, You'll Never Walk Alone, was added below the Shankly gates. 1 year after the centenary, the emblem was updated with the addition of the eternal flames on both sides of the shield. This is, of course, in remembrance of the 96 supporters who died during the Hillsborough disaster. The supporters were vilified and blamed for the event. Nevertheless, the club backed the supporters and maintained that it was the police who were actually at fault, since they failed to implement sufficient security measures. It wasn't until 2016, almost 27 years later, that a judge finally ruled that the police were responsible for the disaster and not the fans. The club crest was modernized just before the new millennium in 1999. The liverbird features more prominently, and the emblem was streamlined. Honestly, though, as far as symbolism goes, Liverpool is probably number one. Unfortunately, for the purposes of this list, in 2012 they decided to go back to the liverbird displayed prominently on the matchday shirt. Plus, a lot of the merchandise from Liverpool carries the 2012 emblem rather than the 1999 version. I understand that it's probably easier to use the former rather than the latter, but I'm still going to have to deduct some points for the lack of consistency, as well as not using the one that has the most symbolism. Number 2, Tottenham Hotspur. Here you have a cock, Earl, standing erect on top of a ball. Spurs were founded in 1882 as Hotspur FC. They got the name from the 17th century knight by the name of Henry Percy. He used to drive his spurs into his horse's flanks when charging into battle. That gave him the nickname Hotspur. Of course, as some of you know, spurs are also heavily associated with cocks.
Hey, yo!
Fighting cocks. The club initially used a pair of spurs as a symbol, similar to the basketball team from San Antonio. Eventually, it evolved into a girthy cock, which they used as the emblem from 1921 to 1950. After the 1951 First Division title, the cockerel slimmed down and the spurs became more prominent. From the 1980s to 2006, the badge was altered many times in order to make the badge harder to pirate. The club's motto, Audete et facete, which I'm pretty sure I'm butchering, it means to dare is to do in Latin. That was added along with 2 lions who flanked the cock. I don't know about you, but I think that would make me a bit nervous personally. Finally, the club modernized its emblem to the one we have today. This version is similar to the one used by the Spurs after winning their only 2 league titles in 1951 and 1961. I swear this is not an excuse to make richer jokes.
Right.
I actually do think that the Spurs emblem is fairly clean. It is a direct reference to the club's origins, and you can clearly make out its silhouette in black and white. And it has an emblem that looks as good on a matchday shirt as it does on any merchandise that you care to name. It's clear that when it comes to bird-based football crests, the Spurs emblem is clearly the cock of the walk.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Alright, I'm done. Number 1, FC Barcelona. Well, I'm clearly biased, but FC Barcelona is one of the best, if not the best, crest in the world. In 1920 and 1910, a competition was announced, and Carlos Kamalmala was declared the winner. As you can see, it is the basis of the same badge that would be known all around the world. Over the past century, there have been some changes, but the basic design remains. It has the señera on the top right, which is the national flag of Catalonia. And on the left, it has the St. Jordi's cross, which is patron saint of Catalonia. And at the bottom, of course, it has the blue and claret stripes that the club uses. The last element is the football on top of the Blaugrana. In 2002, designer Claret Serrahima was chosen to modernize the crest. The full stops were removed and the shape of the emblem was changed. Nevertheless, the design is strikingly similar to the one created almost 100 years earlier. Well, there you go. Those are the top 7 club crests in the world, according to my opinion. Once again, I go by the name of Omar Arpanare, aka Arpanar, aka your poor leftist teacher. I know you have a lot of choices when it comes to airtime, so I do appreciate you flying Arpanar tonight. Hope to see y'all again soon. Peace.